Good evening. We'll go ahead and get started with the information that we have for you tonight about the IB Diploma program here at Douglas County High School, which has been here about 20 years now. But the theme is going to be the same, from graduate to graduate. In this particular case, John McMahon, for example, who was talking about being a doctorate student, has now become a professor, and so these people have moved on to really what they were trying to strive for in their education. And many examples, if I think back over the past 20 years, the students who have really gone into any number of fields, working literally around the world, and how they still credit the education that they received here at Douglas County for a lot of their success and a lot of the confidence. So our goal tonight is to simply present to you what the IB Diploma program is all about and what it looks like here at Douglas County High School. There's many components to the IB Diploma program, so it's not possible to really touch on all of them. I know that when I talk to students who have chosen to enter into the IB program, the reasons are really in all kinds of categories. So it's enough to make me nervous that I will miss this or that might make a difference in terms of the decisions you make. But the most important piece is that you make an informed decision about the sort of education you want in a district that is a strong district. So the IB Diploma program draws students from across the district and people who even open enroll from outside of the district in order to have that particular experience. So many of the students would go to Douglas County High School anyhow, but again, many open enroll from other areas in order to come here. And from Parker, we have buses. From other areas in the district, you'll have to find your own transportation. But again, the theme that will emerge is that those students who decide to enter into the program and take advantage of what the program has to offer, well, there may be moments during the experience that are a little bit trying here and there because it is a demanding program. They will all look back on it with really the same sort of attitude, that it was an experience that was worthwhile and that was ultimately engaging. So I'm going to go through some specifics in the program, and then we will have some students who are presently in the program talk to you about that experience, and then the most important piece will be at the end, where you can ask any of us the questions that you have about the program and how it works here at Douglas County High School. So I'm going to play one more video here of Kara Fong, which is just a video that's worth seeing. Some people say, well, that video scared me away because do you have to be like Kara Fong in order to be in the IB program? And no, of course not. Kara Fong is beyond exceptional. Kara Fong is now working on her doctorate at Berkeley, full ride at Berkeley, after graduating from Stanford in Stanford Chemical Engineering. And she actually invited me to come out there for an award that she received in chemical engineering, and her professors told me that not only is Kara Fong the strongest student among all the strong students they had in the engineering program that year, but very possibly, as well as any of them can remember, the strongest engineering student that they had ever had at Stanford. So again, do you have to be that? Of course not. But at the same time, if you do have these types of talents, IB is a program that I think helps cultivate those talents as well. So let me play this video from her when she was still at Stanford.
Hi, I'm Kara Fong. I graduated from the IB program at Douglas County in 2012, and I'm currently a sophomore at Stanford University studying chemical engineering. I just wanted to share a few thoughts I had about why the IB program was a really worthwhile experience for me. One of my biggest surprises when first coming to Stanford was just how well prepared I was to work hard, solve problems, and manage my time effectively. I ended up doing really well in my freshman year, and I even received the President's Award for Academic Excellence. I think one of the biggest means by which the IB program helped me so much was by stressing the importance of communication in all the subject areas. When I came into high school, I absolutely hated writing and I had a horrible fear of public speaking. But after completing the extended essay and all of the oral presentations that IB requires, I became a much more confident writer and speaker. And I even ended up giving one of the speeches at my class's graduation ceremony. Above all, though, I think the IB program is strong because it places you in a close-knit, diverse community of students and teachers who are just really intellectually engaged. And I think that ultimately helped make me more passionate about learning and exploring in general. I also think that if I wasn't in a program that forced you to be strong in all the subject areas, I wouldn't have discovered just how much I enjoy the disciplines outside of math and science, which I plan on using for my career. So now in college, I'm not only enjoying my chemical engineering classes, but I'm also taking electives in anthropology and religious studies, which I think is a reflection of how the IB program has helped make me much more well-rounded. But the ways in which IB has helped me go beyond just academics. Not only did I have time for extracurricular activities while in the IB program, but I also found that my experience in these activities was enhanced by being an IB. For example, I played cello in the school orchestra for 4 years. And I was not only able to increase my intellectual appreciation for music by taking the IB music class, but I was also able to experience the cello as community service through the CAS Hours component of IB by organizing a quartet of fellow IB students to play music at nursing homes. So looking back, I really loved being the IB program, and it definitely helped to make me grow into a stronger student, a more confident communicator, and in general, a really well-rounded person.
So I'm going to break this presentation down essentially into 3 pieces. And I know that anytime I give one of these presentations, I'm trying to appeal to 2 audiences. One, of course, and the most important audience are those of you who are in 8th grade right now and suddenly facing a big decision, and obviously a big transition as well, as you move from middle school to high school, and as you make a decision what type of education you want to have. And so when I say this presentation is principally directed to you, I mean that in all sincerity, that those students who really find success and contentment in the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program are those who came to the decision, or at least finally accepted the decision on their own. It's always fair, reasonable, that you are going to discuss this with your parents and that their advice is going to be key. But it's not your parents who will be attending the IB Diploma Program, it's going to be you. And so you can look at this and say, well, that's a lot of work, or those are a lot of challenges, and you can have moments of uncertainty. I know that all 8th graders have those sorts of feelings. At the same time, you can recognize that so many people who have sat where you're sitting now have finally decided that is the sort of commitment that I want to have, and they have had that kind of success. So obviously that's the first audience, you as 8th graders, and then the parents as well, and the people who help you make good decisions in life and will be with you as you go through this program here at Douglas County High School, and obviously are concerned with your educational future. But the program then is going to first look at the nature of the IB community, which I think is really what makes it stand apart. Then we will look at the specifics of IB, some of the academic pieces, not in a whole lot of detail. There's more detail in the back, and there's certainly much more detail that you can get about any of those classes by talking to the teachers who are here this evening or talking to us at some other time. And then finally, and what I think is appropriately finally, we'll talk about really what it does for you as far as college is concerned. It's always tempting to put that cart a little bit before the horse, that you will think, well, I want to do IB because of the rewards it will bring me in college, but the thinking has to go the other way, that I want to do IB because of what it is as an education, and then the rewards will follow that. That there's a essential piece here, which is the IB mission statement. Like so many groups, IB has a mission statement. Maybe not like so many groups, IB is really committed to following the mission statement that they have, which I don't know if that's readable to you out there at the moment, but it talks about how it's an education designed to create a better and more peaceful world. And that is truly its origins. The International Baccalaureate Program really began after World War II, when a number of European intellectuals were asking themselves, how could these things have happened in the 20th century? How could civilizations that were so advanced have moved towards this kind of disaster? How could they have abandoned what anybody would consider to be fair and reasonable sense of ethics? And so they were wondering what sort of education would allow people to move beyond that. And how do we develop an understanding where people can at once embrace the values that they have and hold dear, and at the same time live in a world with people who have values that may differ from those, without resorting again to the sort of violence that World War II had. Over the course of time, the curriculum was built, and it was ultimately implemented in Geneva in 1968 as a program designed for families that move around a lot, diplomats' families and so forth. From that point, it has spread across the world to the present day, where it is widely seen as really the most comprehensive curriculum available to high school students. And we'll talk about that more in terms of how colleges see it as we move forward. But as it says, it's rigorous, and it has high expectations. That is certainly a piece of it that cannot be ignored. But at the same time, it is set up so that you will develop the skills necessary to be successful. And that's why, at the beginning here, who are we? To me, that's the big piece. As an educator, that is what really keeps me motivated in the IB program. And I have been teaching in the IB program here at Douglas County High School since it began, now over 20 years ago. And early on, I questioned it. I wondered why we would need a program like this when we have good and strong AP programs. Today, absolutely not. I have a clear understanding of the advantages it brings. And number one is always to me going to be this: who are we? That we are a we, that it is a community, that it is an effort to get students to really make the most fundamental turn in education, which is to say that education is not something that is happening to you. It's not something that's being forced upon you, but rather it's something that you are embracing, that you are driving, and that you are in the middle of. And that is the key, again, to really developing a mindset that allows your education not to be just the experience that you have while you're in school, but something that you carry with you your entire life. So a rigorous course load that challenges students, and a close-knit community. And that's what you see with students. I mean, over the course of time, as students work together, of course, they'll have their differences here and there. But ultimately, as a teacher, to see students who are committed to each other's success is really powerful. It's powerful in terms of what it means, in terms of human nature and the interaction there, but it's also powerful in terms of what it leads to and the success that students have as a result of being surrounded by a community that really values education, committed to learning, and committed to all of the pieces that they can be involved in. On the left side here, which I'm almost certain you can't read, but it's a list of the activities that students are involved in, because there's so many myths that have to be dispelled about IB that I know float about in the community, and maybe there's an element of truth to them, but at the same time, some of them are just patently false. And that is that IB students are just students, that they don't have time to do anything else. IB students at Douglas County High School are, as a group, the most involved students in Douglas County High School. That they're involved in athletics, they're involved in speech, they're involved in various business organizations, they're involved in drama, and so they are committed to an education beyond the classwork, and they're really, again, committed to the community that is at once IB at Douglas County High School and Douglas County High School as a whole. The other component of an IB education is what is called the learner profile. And these are traits that we look for students to exhibit in the International Baccalaureate program, and of course that the education is also designed to foster ways of interacting with the world in order to get the most out of your education. So the expectation that students would be inquirers, that they have a sense of curiosity, that they'll want to know more about subjects, they'll want to know how subjects relate to each other, and that to some degree they're never really satisfied with the answers that they get. They always want to know more, that they're knowledgeable. This is a big piece as well. When you talk about an education that is student-centered, it's easy to say, well, that means that there's not really things that they need to know, and we let go of the facts that are so essential. But IB students have to be knowledgeable. You have to have the pieces that ultimately you can configure and reconfigure in order to become a strong thinker, certainly among many things, that you can combine information, that you can apply what it is that you know to a variety of situations, some of which may be unexpected. That you're able to communicate that type of understanding with each other, that you can communicate it with writing, and also in the IB program that you are studying another language, so you understand the nature of communication in languages other than English. That you also are a principled person. This is a big part of IB, that there is certainly a high expectation as you embrace this sort of learning that you have to in the IB program, that it is your work that you are presenting. If it's not your work, the value of the education certainly begins to decline, and that you also just have an understanding of what is fair and right in the world itself. So that's another piece that's so essential. Being open-minded, to be ready to receive new information, new ideas, new perspectives, to listen to people and their perspectives. Being open-minded doesn't mean, again, abandoning the values that you have, but it means that you are prepared to consider alternative points of view and see where that leads. That you're caring, again, this is fundamental to the community that we build, that you care about each other, that you care about yourself as well, that you care about your education, and that the teachers certainly at Douglas County High School, I can say without any hesitation, care about the students that we work with. We care about their success, we care about them as individuals, and within the broader scope of Douglas County High School, we're able to provide a slightly smaller community that has those sorts of connections. And then that you're prepared to take risks. Well, this is one of the risks right now, as you think about perhaps leaving some of your friends who are going to the school you would otherwise attend, or you're coming to Douglas County High School and you're looking at embracing a curriculum that may challenge you in a variety of ways, that's a risk. But it is with risks, obviously, that you get rewards as well. And so that's something that has to be attended to. Being balanced as a student. Again, not just studying 10 hours every night, but that you're also involved in a variety of clubs, that you are able to take a moment to reflect on your education, to take the steps necessary to proceed with a sense of confidence, to be able to reflect on what is going on. Again, those moments of repose and reflection that are so essential to really understand what it is that you're doing as you move through your education, and that it leads to a greater understanding of what it means. So I take this time to go through the learner profile and to talk about the mission statement, because again, it is what has to be considered first with the IB program. What are these sorts of expectations, and what sort of cultivation do you have to have within yourself in order to have success in the program? And then the other piece that I will address early on here, because it's such a frequently asked question, and I don't know that this is necessarily a satisfactory answer in and of itself. I think the whole presentation is the answer in itself, but what is the difference between the IB diploma program and advanced placement programs? Because again, as I look around the district at the schools, the high schools that we have, and the teachers that I know teach at those high schools, I know that there are excellent teachers, and I know that there are excellent AP classes. I would never disparage those. But what the IB diploma program has is these other pieces, that it is a broader experience beyond the individual classes. So if you went into an individual AP class or an individual IB class, the quality of education is probably going to be very similar. There will be differences in the approach, differences maybe in the assessment, but again, class to class, I don't think that's where you really see the difference. Where you begin to see a difference, the international piece of the IB program, the international standards and curriculum, that it is a curriculum that is designed not just to prepare you for American universities, but international universities as well, as it is certainly a program that is around the world, and the curriculum is essentially the same from around the world, focusing on various elements of critical thinking, and again, a student-centered approach. The IB program is a comprehensive program. So it's not like AP, which is kind of a la carte. I'm good in English, I'll take AP English. Or I'm good in math and science, I'll take an AP math and an AP science class. IB is saying that, sure, you may have stronger talents in one way or another, but as Kara was talking about, and as the students who will talk to you later certainly can attest to, IB is a program that says, look, you need to challenge yourself in the areas where you may not initially be as strong. And this leads to success at university. This leads to success also in a number of jobs. If you consider engineering, for example, that those people who enter into engineering and have math skills, there's probably a lot of those. But those people who also have the ability to think creatively, to express themselves in public, to write effectively, that they have certain advantages in those fields as well, in that sort of advancement, and that sort of critical thinking that has to be part of that. Plus, IB has these components that are in the middle here, which we'll talk about in more detail in a few moments. But the theory of knowledge and what's called the CAS requirement, and writing an extended essay. And I know that, again, sitting there as an 8th grader, this may not be the strongest selling point, that the thing about IB is that you get to write more essays and you get to take additional classes and you will have to do more service hours. But at the same time, when students reflect back or talk about their college experience and their college success, these are the items that they'll point to that really made the difference. And these are also the pieces that universities will talk about when they say, why are IB students so successful? And that occurs in so many settings, where I have talked to so many admissions officers and professors and other people I have interactions with, where they will just talk about the nature of the IB student in the university and why it is IB students are so sought after in the universities. So I'm going to do a quick overview here of what the classes are. In the IB diploma program, the expectation is that you will study 6 classes at an advanced level. Essentially 6 classes at a college level. 3 of those at what are known as the higher level, which is generally a 2-year sequence, and 3 of those generally at the standard level, which is at times a 2-year sequence and at times a 1-year sequence. But again, it's going to be a college level curriculum whether you do high level or whether you do standard level. So the areas that you'll study in are the areas that you're familiar with. Individuals and societies. Any of you who go to Mesa, you're probably familiar with that label as it is. If you're going elsewhere, this would be your social sciences, of course. And here we have a variety of options, which is the third myth, maybe, that I need to dispel, which is the notion that if you do IB, you just don't have as many choices. The IB diploma program at Douglas County High School has as many choices as any IB program I'm familiar with in the state. And furthermore, within each of the disciplines, it has so many options. So if you're thinking, well, I don't have choices to not take advanced classes, that may be true to some extent. But in terms of the options within the disciplines, we have, for example, in individuals and societies, you can take European history, you can take psychology, you can take philosophy. In language and literature, the options are fewer, but this is true for any school you go to. This is English, right? This is the study of English. English literature, or in this case, it's going to be world literature, which would include English literature, but also literature from around the globe. In mathematics, there are 2 levels of mathematics that students will be able to take. This has just changed a little bit. The students in front of me had 3 levels. In some ways this is 2, in some ways it's 4, and I don't want to really complicate everything this evening by going into that. But there's the high level option and the standard level in mathematics, and then within each of those levels there's 2 further options. But all of those options include things like statistics, they include calculus, and at the higher level they include mathematics that goes beyond calculus. That the high level math students take calculus generally as juniors in high school, and then high level math goes on beyond that into things like differential equations and so forth. So it's excellent preparation for engineering, and we've had students who have gone to, well, Stanford, MIT, Yale, and so forth, many of them studying areas in engineering. It's interesting, after I give this presentation, the comments that I get. Sometimes people say, well, you really presented it as a program for the arts, to which I can say, yes, it's that. Or you presented it, is it really just an engineering program? Well, yes, it's preparation for that as well. It is preparation for whatever the field you want to study. and also to be able to combine those fields in creative ways. So we have a wide variety of talents in the IB program, really going across the disciplines. The sixth subject I'm going to come to last here, science, there's biology, there's chemistry, there's physics, there's environmental science, and then also computer science that we have really starting next year as an option as well in the IB program. And then language acquisition, we have Spanish and French. The sixth subject is the option that you have, that you take your English and your social studies and your second language and your science and your math, and then you take a sixth subject, which can come from one of the other subjects. You could take an additional social science, for example. If you're strong in that area and you want to take both European history and philosophy, that's a fair option. Sometimes students just take additional subjects even beyond the six subjects. That's another story. But sixth subject is also an opportunity to take classes in the arts. And this is also something that sets the IB program apart. This expectation that you will challenge yourself in other areas, or that you will take what is so often just kind of dismissed as an extra, an elective. And it's going to be a major part of your curriculum, be it visual arts or theater. We don't have dance any longer. That has to come off of there, although we're hoping to bring it back. Music, business management as an option there as well, and that's where I have computer science listed. But in those disciplines, theater, for example, this is something that has to be considered when you look at colleges, as well as your own development. It fits into all of those categories. That when universities get applications, when competitive universities get applications, and someone is really good in math, it's like a lot of applications they get where people are really good in math. And then maybe they've added to that physics, which is wonderful. Of course, that's a good and essential discipline to study if you're thinking about going into engineering. But what will set transcripts apart is to see that someone was also involved in theater or in the visual arts, that they have this kind of ability to express themselves creatively, to push themselves into that field. And it adds a certain diversity to the university, but the university is fine and good, and whatever they want, great. But it also adds a certain diversity in your own mind, a sense of confidence, in your own sense of creativity, and able to push that thinking as well. So it is such a key part of an IB curriculum to go ahead and embrace an education that goes beyond the traditional subjects, but also says, look, the electives are valuable because they play an essential part in society, they play an essential part in the way that you think, and consequently, they should be a cornerstone of any meaningful education. So that's a really quick overview of our disciplines. In the middle here are the pieces I mentioned earlier that set IB apart: the creativity, activity, and service requirement, the writing of an extended essay, and then also the class that's called Theory of Knowledge that we teach here on Wednesday nights. I'm going to bring our CAS coordinator and a fellow TOK teacher up here to talk about that for a minute, just so you can hear another voice, because I also remember a student who told me that her mom said, yeah, you should go ahead and do that program. I think it sounds great, but as long as you promise not to end up talking or sounding like that guy who made the presentation. So I want to allow you to hear some other voices as well. So I'll introduce Ms. Kim Clever, who's a psychology teacher here at Douglas County High School.
Yes, so my name is Mr. Kels Reisner, and I, with Ms. Clever, helped coordinate both our CAS and extended essay, as well as teach TOK myself. So the first thing we have is the CAS program. So as it says up here, that stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. So in addition to taking your normal course load, part of the IB program is to create a more well-rounded learner. And part of that is being creative, active, and a member of the community through service. So each quarter within your IB curriculum, students will take the time to participate in different creative outlets, whether that be through art, dance, theater, music, any of these different things, as well as activity through sports, bettering themselves through physical. Yoga, yeah. Whatever the case might be. And we have students that are members of the sports teams here and they do activity through that. Or if it's just, I want to climb a 14er and I'm going to train to do that. And finally, the service aspect. Douglas County High School in and of itself has a service aspect to graduate, but the service here is a step further in the CAS program, whether it be through an ongoing partnership with a youth organization or working through your church. Or if it's just individual things throughout each quarter, be it serving at a soup kitchen or coming right here for our young people at the front who are going to speak with you. And so each quarter we challenge the members of the IB program to sort of challenge themselves, not only to do creativity, activity, and service, but to try things that maybe are outside of their comfort zone. So if you are a phenomenal dancer, that's great. Maybe one quarter you work on dance that you are working on. And the next quarter you try to work in graphic arts and try to do something to possibly become a better artist in a different way. So again, it's all about challenging and pushing those boundaries to maybe become a more well-rounded and more capable learner and a better student, possibly again, to look towards university and become a better applicant as you look to apply. Oh, and perfect, TOK is next, which is the other one I'm here to talk about. TOK is an additional course that we have students do within the IB program. It stands for Theory of Knowledge. So the TOK course is a course that basically looks at the idea of knowledge beyond maybe content specific. So instead of, furthering the study of mathematics or furthering the study of philosophy, it's about the idea of knowledge and how we gain knowledge. And it's one of the most enjoyable courses, in my personal opinion, and I am one of the teachers, so bias obviously is there. But it's this idea where students are given the opportunity to sort of look at how they gain knowledge and sort of what goes into that process. And we do all sorts of interesting things within the Theory of Knowledge class. This particular group of seniors we talked about truth as one of the things and created a video with questions about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and then sent that to a colleague of mine from when I taught overseas, and they then had both Israelis and Palestinians answer those questions to see what level of truth there is, depending on what your point of view. We also have a number of students coming from different IB programs throughout the state next spring to sort of participate in a roundtable and then sort of get a different view of knowledge, not only from Douglas County, but other students throughout our state and how they approach this acquisition of knowledge. There's all sorts of interesting things that we do throughout the TOK program, and many students will say that it's one of their more favorite courses at the end of their IB experience. Just because it's not focused on one particular content area. It helps to create this, again, well-rounded learner where they can bring in their strengths and also challenge their weaknesses that they may have so that they can become, again, more well-rounded and a stronger learner.
Hi, my name is Kim Clever, and I've been coordinating CAS and EE for the past 8 years, and I'm also the IB psychology teacher, so of course I'm a little bit crazy. So I wanted to talk a little bit about EE. It's something I'm super passionate about. What it is a research paper. So over the course of a year, basically from your junior year to the first half of your senior year, myself, Mr. Reisner, and Mrs. Hemming are going to teach you how to write a college-level research paper. And you are going to do that with the benefit of a faculty advisor who is an expert in your subject area. One of the great things about the extended essay is that you get to pick the subject and topic that you are most interested in. So a teacher does not assign you that. That is something you get to choose. In fact, the juniors that are here tonight get to pick their subjects tomorrow in a very exciting raffle. They are super pumped about it. Actually, I think they're a little nervous, but anyway, it's not quite as intimidating as it sounds. So we've been talking a lot about communication tonight, and that really is what the EE is designed to do, is to give you the skills to write this college-level research paper. Not only do you have a faculty advisor, but we also take you to and help you use a college research library. Currently, we're working with Auraria University in Denver. So that way, when you leave high school, you already know how to write a college-level research paper as well as how to use a college library. And that brings a lot of confidence to students. Several years ago, the University of Virginia did a study, and they wanted to look at AP and IB students in comparison. So they picked a cohort group that was coming in as freshmen, and they followed them for 4 years longitudinally, and they asked them affective as well as academic questions and tracked their academic progress. And what they discovered was that both academically and affectively, and affective means emotionally, that IB students did better in college. And a lot of that, as they interviewed them, came from their confidence in writing, and specifically knowing how to write that college-level research paper, which is the extended essay. So that's what extended essay is. It's a pretty exciting opportunity to really learn how to do that research. So a personal project is on here, and it is not part of the DP program. It is part of the 9-10 MYP program, but it's up there because the personal project is a personal project. As a sophomore, you are going to pick whatever you want to do, and then you are going to start learning the research process. So the personal project actually feeds into both CAS and EE, and starting to get kids to think about how to make choices for myself in terms of what should I do if the whole world of research is open to me, but also how do I actually go about researching. All of these three programs, CAS and EE, have a reflective portion as well. So teaching you to think about your own writing, your own actions, and your own interests. You'll also hear from the kids tonight about their CAS and EE projects. Oh, look, there they are. There's some of them are here tonight.
All right, so the last piece here before we bring the students up and then answer questions for you is the piece about college. So up on the top you can see being prepared for college. And certainly the items you just heard about, the TOK, the CAS, and the extended essay are big pieces of that. That when students come back to us and talk about their college experience, the first thing they will invariably say is that they were confident writers. When they compare themselves to their roommates and others, be it essays they had to write as freshmen or term papers that they had to write along the way, or even various labs and so forth, oftentimes that they end up getting published. In fact, there's various students who have recently communicated to me about getting their works published in various journals, that they will say that that confidence began really with these sorts of classes, with the work that they did in extended essay, and also the type of thinking that was expected of them in theory of knowledge. So that's a big piece as we talk about being prepared for college. That confidence in writing is about as big as it gets, because that is where so many students can become frustrated at the university level. But here are items, again, that I'm going to have to talk to you a little bit about because they're probably too small for you. But when colleges look at who is successful, and when research begins to examine what does the IB diploma do for you in college, the results are always conclusive, that there is no group that can be studied that is more likely to graduate in 4 years, that is more likely to have the higher grade point averages, that is more likely to go to graduate school and so forth than IB students. That as a group, they lead the way. They lead the way in the United States compared to advanced placement students. They lead the way in Great Britain compared to A-level students, that this is the education that seems to translate to the highest level of college success, period. The reasons for that. One, the writing is undoubtedly a piece. I think another big piece is that you face the challenges that are typical of college, a demanding curriculum, the expectations in terms of writing, becoming involved in your community, which is essential in college, that those who have the best college experiences are the ones who tend to be involved. And our students oftentimes start clubs and are highly involved at the universities that they go to, as are all IB schools, that this leads to success. When you can go through that in an environment that you're comfortable with, which is your home environment, with the support system that you have at home, your parents and your friends that you know so well, you can make those adjustments in that environment, and then you carry that with you to college. It just seems to make sense. As opposed to, you go to college, and suddenly you're confronted with a whole different level in terms of expectation of work, and you're separated from the environment that you're used to. That can become overwhelming. That can be difficult. And that leads, of course, a lot of freshmen to have those sorts of trials early on, and some who decide to even drop out at that stage. But IB students invariably are the ones who continue on and will graduate sooner. So academic ability, civic engagement, critical thinking skills, again, something that's cultivated in the IB program, that it is an education that says you need to know the material and you need to think how you're going to apply it. That every subject is essentially learning a language. How do you speak the language of science so that you can communicate in science? The language of philosophy, the language of mathematics, and so forth. And so you go to university with those skills. There are professors that I know of at DU and other places like that who will make mention of the fact that when they have a class, a freshman class, that they can just identify the IB students. They're the ones who have their hands up, who are ready to participate, who are used to being part of a community committed to learning, and they're ready to go. And they're committed to that type of education. And they carry that with them. Do other students develop that who come from other places? Of course they do. But as a group, the IB program really seems to give students an advantage. Also to engage in various types of leadership activities and so forth. So that's quite a list. And then there's pieces here in terms of colleges talking about IB, the Assistant Dean of Admissions at Stanford, who speaks so highly of IB because of the success that IB students have, like Kara Fong at Stanford University, and also like her own son that was an IB student. And so what she sees there. Over on the right here, which I probably don't need to read to you because you can read that clearly enough. These are some of the universities that our students have gone to. And the students from Douglas County High School go to a whole range of universities. Generally, it's four-year universities. But from military academies to Ivy League schools to Stanford to the University of Colorado to various private schools, Alabama, strong schools across the board in the United States. They go to those, and some study internationally as well. So the tangible value of an IB diploma, well, one thing is just this, which again, I save for the end because I think it's something that follows the hard work that you put in because it's the way it works. Although as a parent of a now IB junior, I'm more keenly aware of these pieces, that an IB student, a student who earns their IB diploma, by state law now, receives 24 hours of credit at a Colorado State University. Most of our students will end up with more credit than that, but 24 hours, that essentially starts you as a sophomore. So that's substantial savings in terms of money. It also sets you up potentially to take a lighter class load, to do a second major, to prepare for graduate school, whatever else it is, it sets that up as well. So that is certainly a nice piece to consider. We've had students, I think our record is we had a student go to the University of Colorado at Boulder with 62 hours. Right? He took both IB classes and also sprinkled in there some AP classes. So he started as a junior at the University of Colorado. Again, that's not the norm. This is the norm. And this is certainly rewarding in its own right. It also gets you out of a lot of the entry-level classes. Classes that are designed to, that are generally larger in size, are designed to present certain challenges to students, to weed them out, and so forth. So it allows you oftentimes to skip those and move into more advanced classes that may more closely align to what it is you want to study. So IB recognition from MIT that it's the best high school prep, from Duke talking about the quality of the program, from Harvard again that sees the success of IB students that attend Harvard University, and then acceptance rates. This has changed a little bit. This slide's I think about 3 years old, but it certainly has not gone down. And you look at some of the differences in terms of highly competitive schools, all applicants versus IB applicants, and some of the advantages that has in terms of admission. If you go all the way down to the bottom, for example, the Air Force Academy, that certainly jumps out, that from 12% to almost 70%. And we've had many students go to the Air Force Academy, to West Point, to Annapolis, and so forth. So those are certainly options that some of our students decide to capitalize on. So as far as information goes, general information, that's what I have for you. But I want to bring the students up onto the stage. So if you guys would come up here. This is a little misleading. I don't know why it turned out this way. IB programs tend to be about 60% female, 40% male, which is true of our program as well. But this particular evening, it's a little bit different.
All right, so what I would like to say about the IB program is that it is the most comprehensive pre-collegiate program in terms of how it teaches you about the world as a whole. With AP or standard courses, there's no way to truly learn about what makes the world a difficult place and how we can surmount the challenges that will face us in our future. And with IB, as a community, we all learn together as to how to better understand the world around us and how to escape the cave in which we live to see the light that exists outside.
Yeah, if I have one word of advice, like I'm a junior right now, if I have one word of advice, it's know your acronyms. We have a ton of those. So like right now we have, just tomorrow, we're going to be turning in our IOPs, which is something in English that I don't remember exactly what it means. We will be choosing our EE topics. A lot of us are here on CAS, as he talked about, and that's just the beginning because IB basically just started for us, so I would say know your acronyms.
Okay, so one thing I want to say is a lot of people kind of made IB seem intimidating, and I was kind of scared at first, and I was seriously thinking about dropping out last year. But in the end, I'm kind of glad that I did it because it's not as bad as it really seemed, and I feel like the learning is a lot different than AP.
Hi, my name's Itosh, and I'm a junior right now. So the thing I wanted to talk about was really like why I did IB. So while I was in middle school, and I was deciding like you, why to do IB, like what really pushed me over the edge for doing IB was that I wanted to challenge myself and go past doing what other normal students would be doing or what AP students would be doing, because IB has so much more to offer, and I really wanted to take value of that experience. And at the same time, like even currently right now, like I'm able to do a lot of extracurriculars at the same time as doing IB, and I think so far it's a great opportunity.
Hi, my name is Sriyan Arora. I'm also a junior at Douglas County, and one thing that I want to make two main points that I'm going to be mentioning, and one of them is that the IB program, one thing that I noticed, and I'm pretty sure everyone can attend to this, is the idea that you'll notice in honors and AP courses, you're going to remember something for the unit test and the AP test, and then never look at it again. You're going to forget about it, you're going to move on. What IB did for me, and what it's going to continue doing for the next 2 years, is it gives me this opportunity that I remember something, a different understanding. I understand it from multiple perspectives, and everyone really gets a different perspective of how this information is being put together. And I think that's really important because I'm going to remember the quadratic formula till I'm 40, whereas my AP counterparts, they're going to probably remember it till maybe freshman year of college and then never have to use it again. I think it's just smaller things like this that'll be really helpful. Another thing is, yeah, it's intimidating, and it does make it seem as if you won't have a life outside of IB, but that's not true. Everyone here, Justin's a varsity tennis player, Itosh is District 11 Vice President for Future Business Leaders of America. Everyone has opportunities that they can do out of school, and I'm the speech and debate captain at our school. I'm FBLA membership vice president. You will have so many opportunities to invest time and get involved, and I think it's really helpful that IB is what really pushes you towards that.
My name is Shub. I'm a senior now for the IB program. One thing I have to say about the IB program is that it may seem hard and challenging, and it's definitely a challenge. It has a lot of difficulties, a lot of roadblocks. However, what makes it hard isn't like the homework, the classes, maybe the extra EE or stuff like that. It's not what makes it hard. What makes it hard is like time management. You have to, what IB does, it allows you to really learn how to manage your time and how to be able to make it so that you utilize everything, you finish what's important and then do things last. That's what will make IB really, really easy, honestly. It's not really that much of a challenge if you're able to time manage. Like with your EE, you have a whole year to do it, but most kids decide to do it in the last, 2 days. So, if you can time manage, it's really not that much, it's not really that difficult.
My name is Lena Corrales. I went to Mesa Middle School, and I am the captain of the cross-country and distance track team. And I also work at Cold Stone, and I really enjoyed my time in IB, and I really think that I just feel 100% prepared for college, and I have no fears about, I know that I'm going to be one step ahead of everybody else because of the EE, TOK, CAS, and just all the things I've learned this year, so.
Hey guys, my name's Jan. I'm an IB senior here, and before I start, is anyone here from Sagewood by chance? No? By show of hands. Anyone from a non-feeder school? Okay, so there's a few of you out there. So I was in a very similar situation to you guys when I was a freshman. I was sitting, and that was actually the same seats right there. And I was really contemplating the decision if I wanted to go to this school and leave all my friends behind and try to make new friends here for the high school education. And I thought, you can only do high school once. And so I want to do the fullest high school experience I can. I want to have the fullest high school experience I can. And I think IB really has provided me with that. And I'm glad I took the risk of coming here because through IB, I've made some of the best friends I've had that I probably ever will have in life. And so it's just been a great experience. Some of the activities I've gotten involved in, I play football here. The season actually just ended. And then I also, for my CAS project, I'm starting a club with Berkeley, actually, that focuses on outdoors activities. And so our mission is to help people develop their own personal skills, be it like being a more fit person or develop leadership skills through exploring the outdoors that Colorado has to offer.
Hi, guys. My name is Berkeley. I've been a 4-year member of the varsity lacrosse team here. I'm a member of the Chinese Honor Society. I'm a member of the National Honor Society. I'm a co-founder of the Douglas County Alpine Club with Jan, like he talked about. And I, like Jan, went to Sagewood as well. So when I'm talking about the reason that I joined IB, I can't necessarily say that it was my choice because, to be completely honest, it wasn't. I remember my parents going to this meeting. I don't think I was there with my twin brother. And they came home and they dropped the bomb on us that we wouldn't be continuing on to Ponderosa like our peers would be. So, as 8th graders who weren't really open to much interpretations and moving around in life, we are devastated by it. But after 4 years at Douglas County and 2 years in the IB program, it's truly been one of the biggest blessings of my life and one of the things that I'm most thankful for because it really has opened up my eyes to a whole world of possibilities in terms of the way that I acquire knowledge and the way that I see things around me. Another thing that I want to recognize the IB program for that I don't think anyone else has talked about is the diversity of students that are present in the IB program, and that's something that I find really exceptional because when I'm looking around at my peers in the IB program, I see students who excel in sports, I see students who excel in theater, I see students who excel in musical programs, I see students who excel in arts, and I see students who excel in extracurricular activities that maybe the school doesn't provide for them. And I just think that that's a really exceptional part of the IB program that isn't really, you're not able to really see unless you're a part of it, is just that the caliber of students in the IB program is just so diverse, and it really has opened me up as a human being to different perspectives and has allowed me to kind of broaden my taste of individuals who I encounter on a day-to-day basis. And so for the diversity that it provides, I'm really thankful for.
All right, so my name is Gabe Quintana. I came from Mesa Middle School. I am a varsity runner, varsity swimmer, and varsity diver. As for my extended essay, I did a politics paper investigating the impacts of federally implemented education policies on the state education systems. And I would say the reason I did IB was just because I wanted to be constantly challenged to think critically and make connections between just different things in the world around us to really get that global perspective that would allow me to succeed in the future.
Hello, my name is Siddiq Pitswan, and the reason why I joined IB was really kind of decided during my 10th grade semester. And that was because I had a teacher who was called Mr. Coppell, and he's no longer a teacher here, but I think for all of us who've had the opportunity to be able to learn under him, we've been greatly, deeply impacted by the way that he's taught us to look at the world and how chemistry really affected us in our day-to-day life. And the reason why I kind of bring up Mr. Coppell was that, similar to Mr. Coppell, the teachers that we've had the opportunity to kind of learn under, Dr. Fleet, Ms. Clever, and Mr. Reisner, sorry about that, just kind of took me a second. But all of these three teachers and the other teachers who are also in IB, their perspectives on the world and their ability to kind of engage with us and basically bring us the complete understanding of how things relate to one another, even though they may not seem to be at first, really gave us the ability to broaden our views, not only in the way that we interacted with people around us, but the way that we also interacted with the information that we receive. And I think in today's world, it's more important to be able to kind of think critically than just to be able to just say, take in the knowledge that we're given, say, from TV, or say, even from news articles as well. And that's why I joined IB, it's because of that.
Okay, hi, my name is Kat Farmer. I guess that we're kind of like stating our titles. I'm co-president of the Thespian Club, and I'm in speech and debate, and I'm a National Honor Society, and I basically just do theater pretty much, so yeah. I would say, I mean, it's not like the reason why I joined IB, but the best part of IB, it's kind of similar to Siddiq's, is like the teachers, and I'm not just saying this because they're right there, I promise. I'm not. Yeah, I think that, like, you can really underestimate, like, how helpful it can be to, like, actually, like, be able to talk to a teacher just, like, you're, like, friends almost. Like, not that I would consider my teachers, like, my friends, but, like, I think that they're just much more, like, mentors than anything, and they definitely treat you more like you're a more mature person and more of an equal than just, like, someone that they need to teach. Like, they also kind of think that, like, they can, like, learn stuff from your perspective. And I've, like, never, I don't think, ever talked to, like, teachers the way that I have my past 2 years with IB, because they're all just so, like, kind and open to just having a conversation with you, even if it isn't about IB. Like, I don't know the amount of times that I've just, like, talked with Miss Clever for, like, hours or not hours, like, a long time in, like, psychology, just, like, about anything, or, like, the time that I spent in Mr. Reisner's classroom just, like, talking about Harry Potter or something. Like, it's definitely, like, I underestimated how amazing, like, having a really good understanding and, like, relationship with your teachers could be, but that's, like, the best part of IB for me, is just how, like, the teachers treat you and how they treat you more like you're more mature, and, like, they treat you like you are actually going to college and stuff, not like you're still, like, a small child and stuff. And yeah, there you go.
Hello, my name's Blaine Masoner. I'm also a senior in the IB diploma program, and I went to Mesa Middle School. I also went to Rockridge, so I've pretty much, a majority of my education has been in the primary years program, middle years program, and then now the diploma program, and I have absolutely loved every year of it. I can say that I just have felt entirely challenged by, like, in a very positive way, by the IB program as a whole. And I think it's all in all made me a better person in general. I think the challenge is like a big reason why I decided to join the IB diploma program specifically, because I mean, I just noticed that like the difference between me and my peers is that myself, in my classes, everyone who is in that class is there to learn and to gain the knowledge, not just for the tests at the end of the year, but for life. And I think that greatly is something that is greatly pushed by the IB diploma program, is especially with classes like TOK and things like CAS. I think they're trying to not just, it's not just to do something to get it done and then I forget about everything that I did the last 4 years of high school. It's to do something to become a better person, to become a more knowledgeable person, etc. My EE topic was how can the process of esterification be used to deduce the difference in yield between used and unused oil-derived biodiesel. And that was a chemistry topic. But I just wanted to mention, like, you're probably sitting out there thinking, oh my goodness, how did she ever possibly, like, what are all those words? Things like that. And honestly, I went into it not even knowing what those words meant before I started. And like I said, like, I think it's the whole program in general is just to challenge yourself, because if you want to do it, all the teachers that are here will be here to help you do it. And even if it's something that you have no idea about, like, what is esterification? Obviously I know now, but I didn't know when I first started writing my paper. And so, if you want to know more about that, or just in general, like, the challenge that it is and how that's really gratifying in the end, then, come talk to any of us, because we can all tell you about that. So.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Schuler. I went to Mesa Middle School, and that was a good time. It was really scary for me to join the IB program because it was such a challenge, but I felt like I was up for it because, challenge in school was something that I always wanted to get to, because I found myself in normal classes being bored all the time, and that is not something that you will find in IB. You will always be challenged, and you'll always find something useful to learn, no matter what class you're in. And I think that I have learned so much valuable information from IB, from the teachers, from the classes, and from the people that I know, my classmates. And it's given me a chance to pursue things that I'm interested in and passionate about. And I'm really busy all the time, but I'm busy doing things that I love. And IB has given me a chance to do that. My EE, my extended essay, is in Spanish. I am not fluent in Spanish. I speak English and mostly just English, but I love language and I love Spanish, and IB has given me a chance to get to the point where I feel confident enough that I can actually write a really long, really complicated college essay in a language that I wasn't born speaking. And I think that that's really cool about this program, is that it can get you to that level of confidence. And so, I hope that some of you will follow in our footsteps and, take on this challenge, because for me, and I think for everyone here, it's been worth it.
That stay up here for just a moment. That time management piece is a big one that I did not mention in terms of success, what students talk about. But these students behind me, as all of their peers are truly superstars. I mean, when we as teachers get to work with them every day, that really keeps us going. And I don't say that with any sense of exaggeration. That is simply the truth. That allows us to have really the best teaching jobs that I can imagine, being able to work with students like this. But they are no more superstars, I know, than you are. They are just simply people who decided to rise to a challenge, to embrace an opportunity. And we're able to provide, I think, here, I can say with confidence, what they need. But the program is fueled by you. It's your talents and your desires that make this program work. So that's something just to keep in mind. So don't be intimidated by the title of an extended essay or by the amount of work. We will help you through it piece by piece, step by step. I know when I first heard about the IB program, I thought, my goodness, how can anyone ever do all those things? But it is a process, and it is something that ultimately has very tangible advantages, dividends as well. So the IB diploma program is a junior-senior program. When you enter into what are called the IB diploma classes, the college preparation classes specifically. With that being said, you begin the process as a freshman. And theoretically, you could go to your home school, get an education there, and then transfer over here junior year. Theoretically, you could do that. On the other hand, realistically, nobody does that. Because once you go to another school and you're involved in the activities of that school and you have friends at that school, the odds are overwhelming unless things are regrettable at that particular school, which we would, of course, never hope for. You're going to stay there. And so the advantages of coming here are really twofold. One, as some of the students behind me mentioned, you begin to become involved with the students that you're going to be with for 4 years and develop those sorts of connections and friendships, and you're part of that community. And also the curriculum that we have, 9th and 10th grade here, is designed specifically to prepare you for the diploma program. So you'd enter into honors English and honors history classes that begin to emphasize the analysis of historical sources, literary terminology, things that ultimately translate to success in the IB program. So it's a 4-year curriculum in that sense, but officially, you're right, a 2-year program. So the question is, how does IB allow you to develop a deeper understanding of subjects think globally in these questions? All right, so I will, because I could talk about that certainly, but I think it'd be more meaningful from, did you want to address it?
Yeah. So I'll hand it over to my fellow students as well. But one thing I want to mention is, like Dr. Fleet mentioned earlier, we're required to take a language course at our school. And sure, that's a small aspect of it, but I can safely say I can communicate in 4 different languages now just through being in the IB program. And sure, I'm not completely fluent in every single one of them, but I can communicate, I can understand and verbally speak back to them and communicate the messages that I need to. And furthermore, the school gives us opportunities to look at everything from different perspectives, as I mentioned earlier. We look at everything from a global perspective. Every book that we've read in IB English high level this year so far has involved about diversity, culture differences, and how we need to understand that. And I think that's a really important aspect, especially in today's society.
And another aspect about being globally connected is, since IB is an international course, you're going to meet people from all over the world that do IB as well. In fact, over summer break, I went to Sri Lanka, and there I met this girl. She lives in Oman, and she actually does the IB course there. And so we connected on a level there, and we talked a lot about TOK, EE, and all these things. And this is a girl like all across the country. So in that sense, too, you can get globally connected because there's thousands of kids all across the world doing the same course, doing the same curriculum as you.
Honestly, in all of my classes, I learn about stuff like not just in America, like on a global scale. Like you just learn about so many different perspectives. It doesn't feel like you're taking like an American class. Like in philosophy, we read like ancient Greek literature, like Plato's Republic and stuff like that. And like then we read like Heart of Darkness or stuff. So it's definitely very like, it's not America focused at all. Like I don't know if we've ever done something strictly U.S. based since like sophomore year when you had to take like U.S. history or anything.
And I think the one thing that kind of ties all of this up also is that all of these, we do a lot of these readings and a lot of this kind of looking into different cultures, but the main thing that kind of comes from it is also our analysis from it too. And the fact that we got so many times to actually practice analysis, whether it's through TOK, EE, or even through CAS, because we still have to reflect about our experience, we're kind of able to kind of look into ourselves a little more and be a little more be a little more just insightful about ourselves. And that's also why we're able to kind of, I guess, analyze things a little better as well, because we just have so much practice. And I think, starting from junior year and even starting with the personal projects, we're able to kind of explore the different perspectives and kind of connect it with all the things that we are actually knowledgeable about, such as, the United States, to subjects that are covered in, say, perfume, which is based in France but written by a German, or with Kokoro, which is written by a Japanese author.
A good thing that the IB classes do, if I'm comparing them to just a normal class that I took freshman or sophomore year that wasn't necessarily an IB class, is the way that it provides context with any subject. Like, for example, in English, before we read a book in English, we'll have like a week or even 2 weeks where we focus solely on learning about the culture and learning about the time period of the time that that book was produced, or learning about the life of the author. And even in classes like chemistry or biology, we learn about international regulations. I just think that the International Baccalaureate program does a good job of providing context with the curriculum, so you can truly understand where it's coming from internationally and just what's going on outside of the U.S. And I think that's just a good kind of aspect that it focuses on in every class. TOK, sciences, mathematics, English, whatever it is.
Another thing that's great about the way we learn in IB that I think is very different from other classes I've experienced is really the way of thinking that it teaches. Because it teaches us, I think TOK is a really good example of this. It teaches us to take everything with a grain of subjectivity and to think a little bit more insightfully about things, kind of like Sadiq was saying. And I think one of the best things in IB is class-based discussions where everyone kind of talks. You hear very many different perspectives, and it teaches you to look at issues in a multifaceted sort of manner. And I think that's what's most important about IB.
So thank you so much for coming this evening. If you have other questions you think of, don't hesitate to contact us, email us, or whatever else you have.